I'm not going to go over this video, but I do want to let you know that Body Cam Declassified, which is this account right here. Remember, we went over Body Cam Declassified, and what they're doing is what they used to do is try to pawn off fake body cam videos as real body cam videos. And then I called them out, and they changed their about section to say that this is just, what do they call it? Body worn cameras or body cams have become a crucial tool for law enforcement. Oh, they changed it again. I haven't read this. Offering an impartial record of police interactions originally introduced in the early 2000s, body cams were developed. Okay, so it gives this history of body cams. They provide an accurate, unbiased view of events, making it easier to resolve disputes and investigate allegations of excessive force. As technology advanced, body cams became smaller, more efficient, and equipped with features like real-time streaming. This allows police to document encounters more effectively, improving both officer safety and safety. In our channel, we bring you real, unfiltered body cam footage offering insight into real world situations. In some cases, we may reenact some elements to clarify key aspects of certain encounters. Every case shared is original and exclusive. And if you see our body cam footage elsewhere, please report it. So what they're doing is they're pawning this off as real body cam footage. And then these are public records, guys. This is how deceptive and really evil this channel owner is being. When somebody uses this body cam footage, which they're assuming is public information, they're actually using information that is just reenacted. And all these videos, all these are reenacted. This has 1.9 million views released a month ago. This one right here, 5 days ago, 646 views. And if you look under it, people are actually believing that these are real interactions with this, in this case, this black attorney and this law enforcement officer. Remember, it's the one that I did where there was an FBI agent who was caught right here and the arrogant police officer. And we pinpointed that this guy is actually a part of this reenactment channel where you know, their acting really is horrible, but people were actually taking this as real. And then people within our community were going, they were duped by it, thinking this was a genuine interaction between a law enforcement officer and an FBI agent, and they were covering it as though it was real body cam footage. Look, they even have like the Axon body camera credentials up here, and then they blurred out this guy's badge which said Mingo Police Department. There is no such thing as Mingo Police Department. So they make it look legit. It's almost like entrapment. It's like video entrapment, so that when somebody does use this body cam footage thinking it's real, of, you know, public records and open for the public domain to use and critique and make commentaries on, then they issue strikes on these channels, and channels have gotten strikes thinking this is real body cam. So this is just an evil thing to do. When somebody in good faith thinks that they're going to create content with commentary and, you know, try to expose law enforcement and warn the public, they think they're doing a good thing. And then they get a community guideline strike, which directly affects their account. So this is evil stuff, man. So be aware. Body Cam Declassified is the name of the channel. I can't remember the parent channel. This is like a sister channel to it, but I just want you to be aware. The second thing is, the main event for tonight is we're going to go over this guy's video. Here, let me just open another tab here. Not like I don't have enough. This guy right here, I believe, is a current law enforcement agent, or at least a law enforcement trainer. He's got a law enforcement uniform on here, so he's at least former law enforcement or current law enforcement actually producing training. Here, let me show you. He's got, you know, how to become a cop, police officer background investigation, how to pass faster, police psychological tests. We're going to go over this guy's psychology here in a second, because he reveals a lot of what police officers actually think and how dangerous and tone deaf and evil they actually are, thinking that he's actually performing a great public service by putting a video out like this. What cops see when they run your ID. This gives you some idea of why you never want to give your ID. One of the most sacred things that you have in this life is your identity, is your anonymity. And one of the reasons cops want you to submit to giving your identity is that it automatically makes them an authority over you. You are their subject. As a matter of fact, he uses the word subject. He views people who aren't law enforcement as subjects, as though he were a king or a part of the ruling class. Well, we know for a fact that this guy is part of the law enforcement class, which does the bidding for the ruling class. So we're going to go over some of this, and we're going to go over some markers of what a psychopath and a sociopath actually is, because he fits the bill of psychopathy. Let's just go over some of this. We're going to go over the first, I think it's 8 seconds, and then he goes into a commercial, and then we're going to hit second 43. But you got to check this out. He actually thinks that he's doing good. He actually thinks, I believe this guy thinks that he's a good cop. I believe all cops think that they're good cops. And they can't even tell that they're psychopaths. They can't even tell that they're manipulative liars. Watch this.
Are key. Reasonable, articulate.
Let's go over here.
As a law enforcement officer, why would I always try to get your ID? And how does it help me in doing my duties every single day? Let's discuss.
Why would I always try to get your ID? And so on his intro, it's got him in his cop uniform. Now we go to the 43-second mark where he actually starts explaining why they always want to get somebody's ID. It's because they gotta have it, man. You know what? Okay, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but you got to understand they have a certain track, a certain mental track that they go down, and they are incapable. I'm convinced. I used to not be so convinced. The more I do these videos, and that the more I look at how they ruin people's lives and they just don't care, I realize that there is only one track, and they believe that it's the right track, but it's the order following track. They're basically part of the humanity that says, if you get this piece of paper, looks real efficient, real official, it comes from the political parasites, it comes from the ruling class, this is the procedure, this is the policy, this is the protocol, this is what you got to follow. They will just do it, whether it's wrong or right, whether they ruin lives or save lives. It doesn't matter to them, because all it is a paycheck, man. Gots to feed the children no matter what. Number one, first and foremost, I go home safe at the end of my shift. I am going to sleep in my bed. I'm going to be with my family. I don't care what I have to do to you. And I don't care what happens to your life after I get done opening the door to wreck and ruin. This is how these guys think. So I want to let you into his mind. And the best way to let you into his mind is to let him just keep on talking. Here we go.
When I run your ID, what am I seeing? Why am I doing it? And what can it tell me? All right. So let's say I stop you for a traffic stop.
Right? Yeah. I noticed. I was going to go over that. Gray man jumped the gun on this. I've got a what is it called? A plugin. I've got a plugin on my computer called YouTube Dislike. It's the YouTube dislike button. Remember, YouTube took dislikes away. Well, I can tell from this plugin that he's got almost 2,000 dislikes. He's got 1,931 dislikes to 3,300 likes. He's being ratioed to death. And because he doesn't want free speech to roam on this particular video, because he hates hearing what you have to say about what he says in this right here, he's going to control your voice, and he's going to disable the comments. He doesn't want to hear the negativity. Listen to this. Here's why he disabled the comments.
Stop. I have what's called detention of you. You're not under arrest, but you're temporarily seized, which is called a detention. So
it's an arrest. You can arrest, detention. Come on. Permanent, temporary. You can't go anywhere. You are not free to go. That's an arrest. You've been arrested.
I can conduct or complete my investigation, or my traffic stop. Now, there's case law that supports this. That's not up for debate, It just doesn't matter.
It's absolutely up for debate. Case law, Terry v. Ohio, Pennsylvania versus Mims, DeShaney versus Winnebago County, Gonzalez versus Castle Rock Police Department. It is all up for debate. You know why? Because every one of those things right there says that officer safety trumps your damn individual rights. Matter of fact, that's how they view it. Damn your individual rights. I don't give a damn. I don't respect your individual rights. This is from the perspective of a cop. I'm not going to recognize your individual rights. You're going to give me your ID or I'm going to throw you into a cage. I'm going to kidnap you, and I'm fine with it because Terry v. Ohio says I can. Pennsylvania versus Mims says I can. Gonzalez versus Castle Rock says, I'm not obligated to protect you in any way, shape, or form. Even if you've got a restraining order on you, I'm not going to protect you because my safety, according to the Uvalde Police Department, and the 5 departments in the Texas area that responded to Robb Elementary School, officer safety trumps kids dying in schools. And I know they're dying. And they're calling me on 911. The dispatcher's calling me saying there's still an active shooter in there, and I'm still not going to go in. That's how little they care for you. That's how little they care for your rights, and they don't give a damn about your life. This, guys, if I get hot under the collar about this, I don't apologize, because this kind of stuff right here, I don't have high blood pressure, but I get high blood pressure when I listen to this crap. This guy is your mortal enemy. He would stab you in the back, slap torture cuffs on you, throw you in the back of his car, kidnap you, and throw you into a cage because you violated a traffic law and you wouldn't give up your ID. That's him. That's how bad these people are. We have got to, please help me share this video, because people have to understand, when a cop gets near you, you need to zip your frickin' lip, because they are just there to data mine you, to collect information, and to build a case against you. They're not there to protect and serve you. Period. If anybody's got a disagreement with that, put it in the comment section, and maybe we can have a discussion on another date.
I stop you legally, right? I stop you for a legal infraction, whether it's minuscule or not, right? And I'm not getting into the politics of this, where, sometimes you could use
whether it's minuscule or not. I'm going to go ahead and stop you because my overlord said I could. Look, they wrote it down on a piece of paper. Look, we've got the rules, we got the ordinances, we got the codes, we got the regulations.
A very minor traffic infraction because you maybe want to stop that individual and do a further investigation because you have other things going on. I'm not getting into the legality of that. That's not what this is about. But I go into it and I stop you for a legal traffic infraction, and I come up and I say license, registration, proof of insurance. Hey, Officer Magaha, license, registration, proof.
Magaha, that's this guy's name, Frank Magaha.
Proof of insurance. You hand me your license, you hand me your registration, and you hand me your proof of insurance.
It says, his shirt, I just noticed it, Federal Law Enforcement U.S. Officer Association.
Your registration and your insurance, great. Those are nice. I don't really care about them, right? I shouldn't say I don't, but most officers don't. Those are just another way that you can technically write a citation, right? If someone has failure to, or if they don't have insurance, or
those are ways you can technically, economically terrorize somebody. You can rip somebody's life apart. You don't even know, cop. You don't even know. You could have taken their last dollar that they aim to pay their rent, or to pay their car payment, or to put gas in their vehicle, or to put food on their plate. You don't even know. And guess what? You don't even care. Because you're just going to follow the law. You're going to follow the ordinance, the regulation, and the traffic code. Man, I hope it just burns into the heart of every American that this standing thin blue line army, quite synonymous with the red line army of the colonial days in the 1700s, don't care about you. They just want to do the king's bidding. They don't care how many rights they trample or how many lives they tear apart.
Car's not properly registered, or they don't have proof of those on there, right? Now, the real thing I want is your driver's license. Why? Because I'm going to take it back to my vehicle, and I'm going to run it, and I'm going to run your ID, and I'm going to run your driver's license or your name and date of birth or whatever system I want to, and I can run it through multiple different systems depending on what department I'm with and how it works. But I can run it through NCIC, which is National Crime Information Center, which is your federal check, right? That's your federal, your national check, right? Or I can run it through a state program, depending on what state I'm in. Or I can run it through.
Thank you, Lilith. Appreciate you being a member.
Through both. Ultimately, if I have an in-car computer and I have access to that, I can run it right then and there.
Strong Forever says, Brian, send him an email so you can talk to him and debate him. I'll have a conversation. I'm not interested in debating a law enforcement thug. I will talk to him. I'll tell him how I feel about it. I'll let him tell me how he feels about it. And then we'll let the chips fall where they may. Put a 1 in the room if you would like me to reach out to him and have a conversation with him. Last time I had a conversation with a cop was, what was his name? Mike the cop from like 5 years ago when I had the High Impact Flicks channel.
If not, then I radioed in this dispatch, hey, I have one to run, and can you give me a 10 code and 10 code, which means like wants and warrants, right? Every department has different 10 codes, or sometimes, hey, can you give me a 47 and 48 on this, which means, wants and warrants. So what they're going to do is they're going to run that individual, right? And they're going to check to see if any criminal history comes back. And sometimes you'll hear a situation where the dispatch will come back and say, hey, are you clear to copy? Right? Okay. That could usually entail that there's something on an individual that you're stopping.
By the way, does anybody know why they stopped him? Yeah, Fishman says cops are worse than redcoats because we're supposed to have a constitution and a bill of rights. They didn't pre-1776. But did you hear why he stopped this person? Because of traffic code, not because they committed a crime, not because they harmed anybody, threatened to harm anybody, damaged somebody's property, steal somebody's property. No victim at all. Traffic code. So this man, he's just a man like you and I. This man thought that it would be good and right and righteous and for the sake of public safety to interfere with the life of another man because some traffic code said it's okay for you to do it. Can you imagine operating your life like that? Well, my rule book here says that I can interfere with that person's rights over there because he's walking funny. That person right here doesn't have a piece of metal on his plate. That one right there doesn't have a tag. That one right there has an improperly illuminated license plate. He's got a license plate cover that's too dark. That person has window tint that's too dark. And I got my little thing right. Can you imagine operating your life where you look at other human beings through the lenses of traffic code and corporate traffic policy and then ruining their lives in an economic manner? You're making them late for work. They're trying to drop their kids off at school and you're interfering with that. Or like this last one I saw from BP Cast, which really lit me on fire. This one right here. Let me see if I can bring it up. BP Cast covered this guy. His name is Rusty. And Rusty had just gotten off of I think he said a 12, 13, 14 hour, a long shift where he works as a dump truck driver. And he's trying to get home so he can wash up. He'd already purchased some clothes so that he could wear the new clothes. He was looking for where to get a haircut so he could attend his daughter's graduation. And this female ponytail, pigtail pig, I used to not call him that, but man, this gets me so hot, pins him to the freaking wall. This guy, unfortunately, didn't know not to answer questions. He was answering all their questions, being completely transparent with this lying cop. And then she not only makes him late for the graduation, he misses the graduation. Why? Because he's going to spend a night in jail because he decided it'd be a good idea. And I'm not downing him because a lot of people are ignorant. I'm not calling him stupid. I'm just saying he doesn't have the knowledge, which is ignorance. We're all ignorant of a lot of things. And this is why we do these videos right here so that people can be relieved of their ignorance. But he answered all of her questions and all of her sidekicks' questions. He didn't do anything wrong. He didn't commit a crime. He goes to jail after he conducts these stupid field sobriety tests. This poor guy is sobbing in the back of this patrol cruiser because he promised his daughter he'd be at the graduation and he couldn't. I don't know if he lost his job. It's likely that he could have. He's got a Class A driver's license so he can drive that dump truck. And she is going to steamroll over and ruin his life like a freaking cold-blooded psychopath. So when I see these guys right here who they literally think they're good people doing good things in society, and it's a complete 180 from the reality that they're looking at and the reality that we actually see are might as well be on two different Earths. This guy might as well be from Mars. He does not know what right and wrong is. He does not know the difference between good and evil. He has no empathy for his fellow man. and he thinks it's okay to interrupt your day, just even if it was a 5-minute interruption under traffic law. Who does that? If you interrupted somebody's day and they didn't want to engage in a conversation with you, and you grabbed your sidearm, you just kind of patted your sidearm to remind them, hey, you're the strongest person in the room. Something bad's going to happen to you if you don't continue with this conversation. You should be put away. You should be removed from society. But these guys do this all the time. This is their course of life. This is their profession. This is why they get a paycheck every 2 weeks or every month.
That has maybe a warrant or a warrant out for their arrest or anything along that. Or maybe this individual is known for fighting the police, or maybe this individual is known for carrying dangerous weapons and they're a convicted felon and they shouldn't, or whatever. It doesn't matter. But I'm ultimately trying to gain that individual's proper identification so I can check them to see if they have any other outstanding criminal actions against them. Imagine
the arrogance of saying, I'm going to look into your past and I'm going to see if you're a criminal. I'm going to see if we'll see if I give you the right to possess a personal protection device. Imagine being this guy.
Why do we do this? Well, one, because if someone has a warrant out for their arrest and you stop them and then let them go and they commit another crime, that's on you as a law enforcement officer. You need to make sure that doesn't happen. Two,
now he's conflating criminality with breaking traffic code. He's conflating criminality with, the judge and the jury declared you guilty when you could be completely innocent. The first person that comes to my mind anytime we talk about this is Kevin Strickland in Missouri. This guy back in the 1970s wasn't even in the wrong place at the wrong time. He wasn't even there. There was a triple homicide that happened. He got pinned for it because the police department was completely corrupt. The prosecuting attorney knew that he was innocent. The two people who actually committed the crime came forward, did their time of 10 years each, got out of jail in the late 80s. Kevin Strickland stayed in jail for 43 freaking years, and everybody knew he didn't commit the crime. Even the people who committed the crime knew he didn't commit the crime. And he still stayed in the injustice system, the incarceration system, because that's what it was built for, is to make a brand new slave class every single day, because it makes boatloads of money. And people like this are the gateway to incarceration nation. How do you sleep at night? I don't know. It makes no sense to me.
You don't want an individual to not be aware that they have a warrant out there, right? And they get jammed up in front of their family or something like that.
You're the one jamming them up. Most of the people in prison haven't even committed a crime. They're just caught with possession of dried plant matter in most cases. A high percentage of people in federal and state and local prisons are there because they possess something the government said you shouldn't possess. Whether it's a firearm, whether it's drugs. What happened to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? This guy would spit on the Constitution and burn it, as he says that he glorifies and praises it.
Remember, your duty is always still to the public, right? To the community and to the Constitution.
What a freaking hip. Your duty is always to the public. That's why I put on my clown suit every day and I go out and juggle, and not just my juggling pins. I've got my fishing line because I'm always on a fishing expedition, man. I'm going to catch somebody. Oh my God, you were going too fast. You were going too slow. Your brake light was out. Your headlights aren't properly illuminated. Window tinting's too dark. You didn't activate your turn signal. How many thousands of things have federal, state, and local governments given to badge clowns so that they can feel justified in putting their foot in the door of your life? How many?
So you stop someone, maybe this individual has a warrant for failure to appear.
Oh,
right?
God.
That just means they failed to go to court. Maybe it's a court date.
You failed to stand before my black robe tyrant, and I'm going to bring you to justice, boy.
They didn't even know about. Now, does that mean that
I'll tell you what, if I was a cusser, I'd be just letting loose right now.
You have to arrest them? Well, if it's in the jurisdiction and it's what's called extraditable, if it's not in the jurisdiction, pretty much, if you have the legal requirement to arrest them, then yes, you do have
the legal requirement. Well, let me ask you this, Frank. What if it's unconstitutional? What if it's a legal requirement for you to break into old Becky's door, 91-year-old Becky, because you got a tip that she might be growing plants in the back of her yard that the government doesn't approve of? Well, the Constitution says she's got a right to be secure in a person's house's papers and effects. And the Declaration of Independence says she's got a right, an unalienable right to life, liberty, property, and the pursuit of happiness. But you, Frank, say, well, I'm legally obligated under this law right here to break into old Becky's house, and I'm going to do it. You freaking psychopath. So let's just take a real quick segue, because we've got a long list of traits that identify what psychopaths really are. Psychopaths are characterized by a lack of empathy, impulsivity, and manipulative behavior. Who does that sound like? Lack of empathy, impulsivity. They can't even control their impulses. You can't shoot some cops a bird without them going off on you. You can't tell a cop, hey, this is a public sidewalk, isn't it? Without them grabbing your wrist and twisting your arm behind your back. You can't. Impulsivity, man. If we ever see impulsivity, it's coming out of the law enforcement class. Manipulative behavior. They love to manipulate. They come out of their cruisers with this, hey, how you doing? Oh my God, that's a cute dog you got in the back seat of your car. You got some ID on you? This with the same smile. I'll tell you what, tyranny with the smile is still tyranny. Cheerful tyranny, just walking out of the car. Hey, how you doing? That's still tyranny. Hey, even if it's a beautiful pigtail cop, beautiful tyranny is still tyranny. And their fangs are always there, whether you see them or not. Their claws are there, ready to dig in on you, man. Ready to rip that Constitution apart, or the Constitution you thought you had. You know what? If you got a right to keep and bear arms, and that right shall not be infringed, then why is that right always infringed? Why are there hundreds, thousands of national and state gun laws with requirements and background checks and limitations? You can have this, but you can't have that. Oh, the ATF just revised our list. This is what you can have this year, and this is what you can't have. This is what we're kicking off the list right here. If you've got the right, the unalienable right to keep and bear arms, and unalienable means you can't put a lien on it, then how come there's so many liens against our rights? And how come nitwits like this guy right here are ready, willing, and able to violate those rights? Land of the free, home of the brave? I'm thinking not. No, it ain't. It ain't.
To arrest them. But that's pretty much what you're looking for when you get someone's ID. Now, there's a couple different ways that you can run an individual as a law enforcement officer.
There's a couple ways you can run that individual. Now, he hasn't said the 3 officer safeties yet in this video right here. Here, let me show you. Let's just go over here like this. And okay, we're at 4:59. We're at the 5-minute mark. Okay. And let's go down here to this, click on more, and let's go to show transcript. A lot of people probably don't know that you can actually do a keyword search. Even if you have a 5-hour video, you can pull up all the occurrences of the subject that you want by going Control F. It's Command F if you're on an Apple. And let's just put in the word safety over here and just enter that in. Oh, look at that. He says officer safety the first time at 9:05. And then he says officer safety again at 10:39. And then he says officer safety again at 11:49. This guy is consumed with his own safety, but that's what law enforcement officers do. They're going to go home safe at the end of the night, even if you have to spend your night and the rest of the week in the morgue before your burial. They're going home safe because that's primary. That's number one. That's numero uno, not just for them, but for the judiciary, because the judiciary wants them to go home safe at night too, or they never would have penned and approved Terry v. Ohio or Pennsylvania versus Mint. Well, officer safety trumps individual rights. Oh, you thought you had the right to stay in your car. You don't. You thought you had the right to be safe in your home. You don't. Oh, I forgot. I don't. So let's get out of this transcript right here and let's continue on with his law enforcement cop-splaining nonsense. What is broken justice? What's up, Broken Justice? Broken Justice says, Don't blindly hail the Constitution when things like the 10th Amendment exist in it. This was the government's rule. I'm not a constitutionalist, guys. The Congress has the power to lay and collect taxes. That's in the Constitution. You don't have rights because men long dead have penned fancy words on rare pieces of parchment. You don't have right. Matter of fact, I would contend you don't have rights at all. You don't have rights. But you know what we got? Nobody's got the right to infringe on or aggress against you if you haven't violated somebody else's life. If you're not messing with somebody else's life, if you haven't left a victim, no man walking the face of the earth has any right to reach his hand into your life and disturb you in any way, shape, or form against your will and without your consent. As a matter of fact, it's more powerful to say, hey, I don't have rights and you don't have rights, which means there's no interpretation necessary. You don't need a Supreme Court to enact some kind of judicial review like Marbury versus Madison in 1803. They gave themselves the power, almost like papal power. It's like, yeah, okay, well, you can't have a Bible. Oh, since the Gutenberg press, now everybody's got Bibles. Okay, you can have the Bible, but you can't interpret it. That's what the Supreme Court did in 1803. They're like, well, you can have the Constitution, but technically, legally, we can interpret the Constitution and tell you what it means. So the Second Amendment doesn't actually mean you have the right to keep and bear arms. It actually means we'll tell you if you have the right to keep and bear arms. So we're going to restrict your ability to buy automatic rifles in 1934 with the National Firearms Act. And this is all for the safety and well-being of the general people, the population, you understand. Because the safety of the people will always be the alibi of tyrants. It's always going to be their excuse. There's no tyrant who's going to come up there and go, you know what? We're going to take away your freedoms and rights and we're going to raise the taxes on. No politician says that. They say the opposite. We're not going to raise taxes on you. And then what happens? Taxes get raised. We're not going to take away any more of your rights. And then all of a sudden you wake up in the morning and there's this thing called the Patriot Act. And then all of a sudden you got to take your shoes off at the airport and your shoelaces if they request, and take your laptop out and you got to put it in the bin, and you can't have more than 3 ounces of shampoo and conditioner. And you got to take your belt off. And this is America. And the whole time you're low, the land of the free. You want to see what kind of underwear I'm wearing? Oh, you got to put me in that little, the radiation molestation practices of the TSA. Don't I feel super safe under the caring arms of the blue-shirted TSA, which, by the way, has violated and failed most of their safety tests, where these it's called a red team test. Red team tests, federal officials go throughout airports to see if the TSA will detect these guns and bombs that they try to bring onto departing flights. In one instance, according to a CNN, ABC, and Fox News report, they failed 95% of the time. That means 95% of the guns and bombs they tried to smuggle onto your departing flight, they missed it. The whole reason they're there is for your security. So if they missed it 95% of the time, then it is security, but we got to be specific on what kind of security is. It's security theater. That's all you get. It's kabuki theater meant to entertain the masses and get them to think that the government is just here to keep you. Oh, thank God my daddy government is here. Ain't nothing bad going to happen to me. It's such BS, man. And then they get to radiate you with their machines, and then they get to molest you by putting their hands on you with a smile on their face. Oh my God, I get to feel up the old little kids and your wife and your brother and your father-in-law. This is great. In one instance, I saw this, I can't remember, I think it was ABC that went through, there were so many instances of, they weren't catching terrorists. You know who ended up, was going to prison? TSA agents. Why? Because they were doing bad things to people. They were taking away their rights more than the leash they were allowed to have by the government. And they were stealing things out of people's suitcases. In one instance, this journalist, if you want to call him that, we'll call it a prostitute from ABC because they're always broadcasting crap, had this iPad with the location turned on, and a TSA agent stole it, took it to his home. They pinged it and then knocked on his door. And he initially lied about it and then kind of came clean with it because they're like, well, it's pinging at your house. Isn't that weird that we went through the airport that you work at a TSA agent and now it's pinging at your house? And then his wife comes out with it, or he comes out with it. He's like, oh, yeah, I don't know how this happened. It just kind of, guy gets arrested. Those are the guys that are keeping you safe. So when we turn to this Yahoo right here, and I'm going to call him a Yahoo because he doesn't care about my family. He doesn't care about your family. He would fricking arrest you for a tail light out if you didn't give him ID. I need you to allow me to violate your supposed constitutional right. So I said all that to say it's more powerful to say you don't have rights. That way there's nothing to be interpreted. You just know that that nobody's got a right to mess with you. They don't have a right to steal your stuff. They don't have a right to detain you in any way. Nobody's got that right. And if nobody's got that right, then nobody's got that right. And there's no interpretation to it. But if you say you have rights, then now those rights are open to interpretation. Well, we can't let you have those rights right there, because if we let you have those rights, then all these kids in this school will be unsafe. Because, there was a madman that came into that school or that post office or that federal building with an AR-15, and they're scary and black, and they should only be on the battlefield, not in Main Street America. So obviously we got to make a law that's going to criminalize you for holding an AR-15 or an AK-47 or high capacity magazines. And oh, by the way, we've got to have you through a background check, which is really a process by which the government will determine whether you will have rights or not. So it's a dangerous road to say you have rights. You really don't have any. And neither does the Supreme Court, neither does the President of the United States, and neither does Congress, which is the opposite of progress, or a senator, or a congressman, or a police officer. Because if you start saying that you have rights, then these people who are like, hey, we're here to protect your rights, are going to modify your rights and say, well, yeah, you got the right to keep and bear arms only in these circumstances, only in these states. Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable that these people breathe the same air we breathe. We're at the 5-minute mark. And if you guys like this content, put a 1 in the room. Don't forget to hit the like button. We got more to go here. We got more to go. This guy really sticks his clown shoes in his mouth.
Run them through their driver's license number by driver's license number and state. You can run them through their social security number, right? You can run them by their name and date of birth. But every time you get less and less, it's harder to confirm, right? So someone gives you their name and social security number. That's good. But if they don't have an ID on them, it's very hard to confirm. Sometimes people will give you fake information. While that is a crime, they still do it, right?
It's a crime to give a cop fake information. Let's review here for a second. What is a crime? If there's nobody with stolen property, if there's nobody with damaged property, if nobody's been defrauded, if nobody's had their nose punched or a bone broken or any hand laid on their skin, is there a victim? And if there is no victim, can there be a crime? And can the state, whatever the state is that great fiction by which everyone seeks to live at the expense of everyone else, can the state be a victim? Can they actually claim to be victimized by little old you? Can you victimize? Are you strong enough to victimize the state all by yourself? And if there is no victim, can there be a crime? So if you give a badged, uniformed, clown-shaped tyrant a fake ID, who was victimized? Who did you commit a crime against? Do you see the worldview that these people have? Do you see the mental track that they go down? They see life completely different than you because you're normal. You don't want to have a conversation with somebody who doesn't want to have a conversation with you. You don't want to interrupt somebody's day and harass them and economically terrorize them and give them a ticket. They're going to have to pay $253.25 because they went 5 miles an hour over the speed limit. You wouldn't do that. You know why? Because you're not a psychopath. Because you're not an order follower. You don't do what you're told regardless of if what you're told is right or not. But he does. and everybody who wears a uniform does. And they'll throw your ass in jail if you have plant matter. I don't care if it's an ounce or 1,000 pounds. Why shouldn't you have plant matter? What if they made it illegal for you to buy, sell, trade, and transport rose petals? What if they made rose petals illegal? Well, if they made rose petals illegal, you know what would happen? People like this would enforce the rose petal law. You know how I know? Because they enforce the drug law, the drug war, which isn't a war on drugs, it's a war on people. These guys suit up and armor up and militarize themselves so that they can engage in a full-fledged war against a bag of weed. Nope. The bag of weed doesn't go to jail. Well, it gets tossed into evidence, but you're the one who goes to jail. You're the one who gets your freedoms taken away from you. You're the one who's separated from your family. You were the breadwinner, and now your family gets to starve. They get to fall on hard times because of people like this. That's how much they should be despised. You did nothing wrong. He did everything wrong. You weren't the criminal. He was. So, hey, Frank, give me a call. Contact at highimpactflix.com. Why don't you email me? I want to know how many people are in prison because of you. How many? Let us know, Frank. Inquiring minds want to know.
Maybe they do have a warrant out for them, and they give you a family member's name and date of birth.
Yeah, right? I don't care if it's the white powdery stuff. I don't care what it is that makes you happy. If your idea, it's not a good idea to do drugs, kids. It just ain't. It wrecks your life. But there are medicinal purposes and everything, huh? I'm not going to sit here and try to run your life. Can you imagine trying to run somebody else's life? Let me show you what happens if you. Oh, here. Come here, buddy. Come here. Here's little Dakota. Look at his eyes. His eyes are getting so much worse since his last appearance. This little guy's in diapers now. This is what happens to you when you do drugs. No, I'm just kidding. He doesn't do drugs. Do you do drugs? No way. Are you serious? I don't care. Well, I do care because I care about humanity. I care if you do drugs or not. But I'm not going to make you not do what you think you need to do to pursue life and happiness. Can you imagine being that person? Can you imagine getting a paycheck? Can you imagine trying to go to bed at night knowing that you put this guy right here who was just on his way to go see his daughter graduate? Can you imagine putting this guy in jail, listening to him sob in the back of your patrol cruiser as you've deprived him of his life? He only had one shot to see his daughter graduate. And guys, you can exponentiate that and you can put this, fill in the blank. He had one shot to see his daughter graduate, and that shot was taken away by criminals. Let's just call them what they are. And I ain't okay with that. And I'm growing increasingly angry at the fact that we got to live with these people who are going to pull behind us at any time and pull us over for any cockamamie reason. Have you seen the thickness of the stupid traffic law? You and I are violating, I don't know how many hundreds of laws just sitting here existing. And I'm calling them laws loosely, policies, okay? Policies, regulations, ordinances, man-made edicts. We're violating them. So if you don't do what I tell you to do you really believe, because there's a lot of people who do believe that the thin blue line is making society better, but do you really believe that if I said that you should do something and you don't do it, that I have the authority to put my hands on you, to put these metal bracelets tightly on your wrists, kidnap you and throw you into my basement? Do you really think that I have that authority? If you don't think I have that authority, do you really think that people like this have that authority? If they have that authority, where did they get it? And why don't you and I have it? And if we had it, would we ruin people's lives for a paycheck like he does?
Right. it's possible. It's really hard to prove right there on the spot if they don't have any physical ID. However, usually you can do a little bit of preliminary investigation as a patrol officer and figure it out. But what about if we change this up? What if it's not a legal traffic stop, right? What if we go up to an individual and let's say this individual is suspected of a crime, right? You have reasonable articulable suspicion.
Check it, guys. Listen close. Okay. I'm going to try not to say anything. Iron Man Metal, thanks for being a member, man. 33 months. Holy cow. Thanks for being with me so long. Don't forget, hit the like button if you want to become a member. It's only $2.99 a month. I appreciate it. I put out at least one video a day, every day of the week, every day of the month. But listen to what he says about what he thinks reasonable articulable suspicion is. And let me just give you a refresher. Reasonable articulable suspicion is the Terry v. Ohio standard, which is a lesser standard than the probable cause Fourth Amendment standard. Okay. Listen to what he says. He thinks reasonable articulable suspicion is. Listen to this. Here, I'm going to,
right? Of a crime.
Okay. I'm going to go back 10 seconds. Here we go. Listen to this.
And let's say this individual is suspected of a crime, right? You have reasonable articulable suspicion, right? RAS, that this individual is the suspect in a crime that you're investigating. Can you detain them and can you ID them? Absolutely. Absolutely. Once again, courts have ruled on this as long as it's reasonable articulable suspicion.
Here we go.
Right? You guys hear me talk about articulation all the time. Well, same thing, except it needs to be reasonable. All right. You can't just say, well, I can articulate XYZ and, that's why you can put a monkey in a rocket and send them to the moon. No, that has nothing to do with anything. Right? You need to be able to say, hey, this individual matches the description of an eyewitness that stated that this individual robbed their store and took, money out of a tip jar.
Okay. This is I opened the transcript right here because I want to read exactly what this guy just said. He said, you need to be able to say this individual matches the description of an eyewitness that stated that this individual robbed their store and took, money out of the tip jar. That is what this guy, who I don't know if he's a cop or not. I think he's current law enforcement or at least former law enforcement, but he definitely trades law enforcement officers. And his idea of reasonable articulable suspicion is that an eyewitness says that he saw you rob money out of the tip jar. That is hearsay at best. Even if the eyewitness wrote it down, even if the eyewitness drew a picture of you and showed it to the cop, he's saying reasonable articulable suspicion that requires you to give an ID is eyewitness testimony, which is hearsay, that you committed a crime is enough for you to give your ID. And if you don't give your ID, that's an arrestable offense because he's got a right to stop you because somebody said that you did X. You know what this is exactly like? These guys who go outside of banks and they record banks and then the bank calls and said, they came into the bank saying that they're going to shoot up the place. And then the cops came and there's video cameras everywhere. You had your video camera rolling the whole time. That'd be like the cop believing what the people in the bank said with zero evidence. All he's got is somebody else's word. You can't arrest and detain somebody on somebody else's word. The cop had to have seen it, or they have to have a picture of you committing the crime for reasonable articulable suspicion. They can't just apprehend you because somebody somewhere said that they saw that you might have done this right here, and here's what you're wearing. You've got to be freaking kidding me. We have reason to suspect that you stole money from the tip jar. Well, what is your reason to suspect that? Because John Doe said you did. So you're telling me I got to give you my ID because somebody else that I don't even know said that I did something and you can't even prove it? Yeah, that's reasonable articulable suspicion. No, it's not. No, it's not. If that's the case, then anybody could say anything at any time, and you would have to give your ID all the time. And if you didn't, that'd be an arrestable offense. That's such BS, man. Yeah. I'm glad you said that. That means we got a call, means you ain't got no more rights. We got a call means you got to make yourself insecure in your person's house's papers and effects and give me your ID so I can run you on our system. Which, by the way, when they run you in the system, there's no guarantee that your name doesn't stay in the system. Even if they say, no, as soon as it goes in there, it just disappears. It comes right out. I'm not going to trust the government. How do I know that they're not collecting a database for every interaction with law enforcement? It's like, oh, he had 12 interactions with law enforcement. He must be a bad guy. Better keep your hand on your weapon when you're in the presence of Brian Young. We got a call. Yeah, exactly. Welcome to Nazi Germany, says Ryan.
Cool.
So let me just reiterate. He says that you need to be able to say, hey, this individual matches the description. And how many times are descriptions wrong of an eyewitness that stated that this individual robbed their store and took, money out of the tip jar? Let's listen to it again.
Right. You need to be able to say, hey, this individual matches the description of an eyewitness that stated that this individual robbed their store and took, money out of a tip jar. Cool.
Wow.
You found the individual in close proximity in the direction in which you saw that, or the witness said that individual
in close proximity
fled. They matched the description.
Cops will literally take 5 miles down the road as close proximity.
At that point in time, yeah, that's reasonable articulable suspicion that that individual may be the person that was involved in that crime. That is enough to stop that individual right then and there. Yes, hey, I'm investigating a burglary or a theft. You match the description of the individual I'm looking for. I'm Officer McGaha with ABC Police Department. Can you please provide me your license?
He said it again. You match the description. You match the description means you don't have you're not free to go. We got a call means you're not free to go. We got an eyewitness that said ... You're not free to go. You can lose your rights that easy in this guy's mind. This guy's only here to protect and serve you, though. I'm telling you that right now, Pilgrim. You got to listen to him. He's a law enforcement professional. I completely trust their plan.
Can you please provide me your ID?
No.
I don't have my ID. Okay, what's your name and date of birth? I don't have to give it to you. Okay, well, now I'm investigating a actual crime. I have reasonable articulable suspicion that you were the individual involved in that crime. Whether I'm right
no, you don't. You have hearsay. Okay, put a 1 in the room if you think hearsay is reasonable articulable suspicion or could ever be construed as reasonable articulable suspicion. Let me know in the comment section. Put a 1 in the room if you think we got a call means you get to lose your rights and you get handcuffs on you and you get detained and properly arrested. And you got to give your ID. If we get a call and somebody gives and you match a description, and he's, by the way, to add insult to injury, he's going to talk about how matching the description is misconstrued often and that the 911 operator gets it wrong a lot. And he's going to, without saying it, say he's going to exercise discretion on which operator and which description he believes so that he can enact the standard of reasonable articulable suspicion, which is complete nonsense anyway.
You're wrong. It doesn't matter at this point because it's reasonable enough that I am right.
It's not reasonable. Hearsay is not reasonable. You know what? It's like you could completely turn the, hey, you know what? It's really funny because you match a description too, officer. There's a uniformed thug that actually walked onto a 3rd-story building, an apartment building, walked into another man's apartment that wasn't even her own. This happened to be a female police officer. I guess you don't exactly match that unless you're taking hormone therapy. Her name's Amber Geiger, and she walked into Botham John's house and blew him away on his couch while he's watching a movie and eating ice cream. You match the description of everybody on the Arvada Police Department that teamed up against Johnny Hurley after he saved all your asses from a mad gunman. You match the description of Philip Brailsford, who summarily executed Daniel Shaver in that hallway of La Quinta Inn. You got the same kind of uniform, same kind of haircut. You match a description too. I'm going to have to see your ID. Matter of fact, I need to disarm you for my safety. You got anything that could poke me, stick me, prod me, cut me? people get all mad at me for doing the video that I just did today where that cop walks into that school and he butts his head up against a wall of authority, the administrative teacher's authority in the principal's office, because she wouldn't allow him to just walk into any room he wanted to. And he's like, well, he's never encountered that, but nobody ever says no to my authority. We'll see if we protect and serve you ever again. Well, you won't protect and serve, because if you show up to our school during a mass shooting incident, you're going to be just like the 376 outside of the Uvalde school from 5 different departments that stood down and did absolutely nothing while they knew an armed gunman was picking off kids. So don't tell me that you're here for my safety. If anything, I'm keeping you out of that room to protect the children from you, Mr. Copper.
You're required to give me ID.
God, that grates. That grates on my inmost being. You're required to give ID. I'm the authority in the room. You will submit to me as a child would submit to a parent. I expect you to submit. And if you don't, I have the right to use the appropriate force vested in me by the state of Florida or California or Maine or New Mexico to bring you to bear. And if you try to take me down, well, I got a whole team and I can deploy a whole lot of resources. Our pockets are deep, boy. We'll bring out the dogs. We'll put the birds in the air. We'll get out the drones, the anti-tank missiles, whatever it takes to blow you away and bring you down because you didn't submit to my authority. That's how sick it is. It truly is. I can't even say anything to depict exactly how sick they actually are in the head. I can't.
Or they're required to give you ID, right? This is about you. They're required.
I want to hear him say it again.
Reasonable enough that I am right.
Say it again.
You're required to give me ID.
Oh.
Or they're required to give you ID, right? This is about you. They're required to give you ID. If they don't, they're subject to arrest, right? For failure to ID, right? Then the courts can hash all that out. But once again, you're pretty much standard in your legal protection.
In other words, I'll wreck your life. You're just gonna have to take care of it down the road. Well, I jacked his car and I threw him out of the car and I broke his kneecaps, but he's just gonna have to deal with that in court. I can walk away scot-free, go home to my family, eat dinner, sit there and watch Netflix and hop into my comfy bed with my wife while he's suffering, or while Karen Garner is sitting there with a dislocated shoulder, while the cops, Austin Hop, Derry Jalali, and Metzger, are sitting outside 4 feet away outside of her door mocking and how they threw a 72-year-old dementia patient down to the ground because they think she stole $14 worth of crap from Walmart. That's how sick these people are. And then when Sergeant Metzger gets on the scene, oh, you got blood on your, oh, it's just her blood, just come. It's part of the job. You threw a 72-year-old woman down on the ground and you're like 29 years old in the prime of your life, in the fullness of your strength. And you psycho abused your power on Karen Garner. But that wasn't enough. You downloaded your body cams and then you made fun of it again later. Karen Garner and her attorneys and her family successfully sued Loveland. Oh, isn't that great? How ironic. Such evil and criminality coming out of Loveland, Colorado, successfully sued and settled for $3 million, but it didn't come out of Metzger's pocket or Austin Hop and Derry Jalali. They still have their pensions intact, even though Derry Jalali and Austin Hop went to jail for 5 years and they're up for parole this year, and they'll probably get out because, that's how they treat the Thin Blue Line gang members. But that's how sick it is. Now, let me just ask you. Could you, in your wildest nightmarish dream, imagine putting your hands on, let alone throwing down to the ground and twisting arms behind a 72-year-old, clearly mentally gone woman? Austin Hop and Derry Jalali did it, and they didn't think anything about it. How cold-blooded can you get? Maybe the SS soldiers were even less cold-blooded. I've never even seen anything like. Well, yeah, I have. I've seen too much of that. Like, we talk about Daniel Shaver all the time, but it's true. The poor guy was scared out of his wits, trying like crazy to obey every rapid-fire command from the Mesa Police Department, and they still killed him. The guy's in a tank top and he's in a light shirt and shorts coming out of his hotel room. Didn't do anything wrong. But they got a call. Yeah, I saw somebody. I'm down here at the pool, man. Is this the Mesa Police Department? I see a guy up there with a gun. He's on the 5th floor. Well, turns out there was no investigation done. Daniel Shaver is a pest control guy, and he was showing some guests that he had in his La Quinta hotel room the pellet rifle that he used to pick off rodents. Literally did nothing wrong. And this father of two, this husband and father of two, is no longer with us because Philip Brailsford is so freaking scared, all tacked out. Got his on the dust cover of his AR-15. You're effed. Got 5 guys in the hallway with him. There's no possible way Daniel Shaver was so far away. He didn't pose any threat at all to Philip Brailsford. And I wish I could just say, well, it's so rare for that to happen, but it's not. Just this month in April 2025, Victor Perez, 17-year-old, autistic, nonverbal Victor Perez in his own fenced yard with a knife. His mom was trying to hold him back, so she's in the fence with him. He's not being aggressive to her. 4 cops outside that fence chose to put 9 holes in that kid, and now he's not with us anymore. All they had to do was step back. But because they operate on the basis of fear, F-E-A-R, fabricate, escalate, arbitrate, and retaliate, they were so scared with that fence in between them. No telling what that 17-year-old with that knife could do. Even though we got years of police training, we've got him way outnumbered. We've got non-lethal options, but we don't want to do that. We want to just go ahead and fill him full of lead because that's what we does in the Thin Blue Line gang. So you'll have to excuse me if I get a little hot under the collar when I see psychos like this justify their tyranny against people who are supposed to be protecting and serving. Makes me sick to even go over this.
Take their ID, you're going to run it, you're going to check for wants and warrants. Now, does that help you with that particular crime, knowing this person's identity? Yes and no. Because for multiple reasons. One, if you cannot reasonably, right, if you cannot put the burden of proof right there of probable cause, which is more likely than not that this one,
which he thinks is eyewitness testimony is probable cause. Hearsay is probable cause.
Is the person
this guy's? It's not probable cause. He's a lost cause.
And that committed this crime. You get no admission of guilt. You get no show up where the witness can state, yes, that is without a doubt the person. Right?
Yeah, I wish I didn't have to use that kind of language, Broken Justice, but he is a tool. And that's why this guy turned the comments off, because he knows he's getting ratioed under his own video. So it looks like his own audience is going, boy, you really screwed the pooch on this one, man. You jumped 5,000 sharks and a couple copperheads, man, with that one.
Right? You have no actual evidence at that point in time to meet probable cause standards to arrest that individual. Now you have their contact information so that if you do get that, maybe you get you catch later on after doing some more investigation, you manage to catch a break and you get a video surveillance of this individual committing this, but you weren't able to access it right then and there in the moment to meet legal requirements. You now know where this individual is. You can issue a warrant and go get that individual picked up. So that's one, right? 2, officer safety. You can ensure that this individual is not already wanted or has any warrant.
I can't even believe that cops still use this, man. There are roided up 21-inch armed cops out there who are just whining and moaning about officer safety. They probably know Krav Maga. They've got a firearm at their side. They've got extra magazines in case things go down. They got a taser. They got a bulletproof vest on, and they're still they could probably bench press a truck and throw me around the room like a rag doll. But hey, officer safety, man. if you're in a profession where you're that damn concerned about your safety, and by the way, they're not even in the top 25 most dangerous occupations in America. And last time I looked, they were on number 25, behind electrician, plumber, logger, pizza delivery driver is a more dangerous job than police officer. And the only reason I'm convinced, the only reason that officers, cops are on the list of most dangerous professions is because they bring most of it on themselves. I mean, when you live your life continually poking the bear, see how much you can get away with and how far you can go, and you got the drop guns and you planted drugs on this person, you broke into her house, oops, wrong house, we just can't, I'm sorry, qualified immunity. Yeah, I would actually expect law enforcement to be the most dangerous job because they're the ones doing the most harm and evil in our society. So it would be natural for people to want to defend themselves. But as good as well as I do, if you defend yourself against a rogue tyrant, then another rogue tyrant's going to be there to back him up. And whether he broke into the wrong house or not, if you rightly him, he's going to have the grandest funeral. And it's not the rights that were suspended don't stop with your death because you killed my partner, Barney Fife. Now we got to stop off all the roads in your small town with our long funeral procession. And then we got the 21 gun salute. And then we got the folding of the flag. And then we got to make sure that all the departments and all the sheriff's departments, all the deputies in the surrounding areas come and line our streets, making your street less safe, by the way, in the process. Got to make sure all that stuff goes down because we got to honor our fallen hero. Wait a minute. Your fallen hero is the guy who broke into the wrong house, and the owner of that house decided I got to defend my family. I don't know who this is breaking in my door at 2:00 in the morning at the wrong house. You die a villain. And fake stream CIA infiltrated Operation Mockingbird MK Ultra Media will make sure the world knows that you were the villain and the cop was the hero, even though the reality is the exact opposite. That's what pisses me off about this whole thing. There are literally people that are probably your neighbors that think there's something, this unicorn called the good cop. You can't be good when you swore to do evil to your neighbor. And what do I mean by that? When you swore to uphold the Constitution of the United States and all the laws of the state. Guess what? Most of those laws are evil, cruel, and wicked. So what you've promised to do, and it's like, I'm starting to revise my thinking on this idea of honor your oath. Hey, please don't honor your oath. Now, I know why people do it. I know why people do it because you want them to honor at least the Second Amendment, the First Amendment, the Fourth Amendment. You don't want them to start instituting and initiating the Third Amendment. So I understand what people are saying by that, but think about it. Their oath is not just to the Bill of Rights. It's to the Constitution as a whole. And then to expand that out, it's to the laws of the state. Well, most laws in most states were written by political parasitic psychopaths, and they take away your rights. And cops swear to enforce the taking away your rights. So they're actually swearing to do evil as they're also swearing to do good. So they're inherently hypocritical, and they're inconsistent, and they're muddled in their own thinking. They don't know what's up, what's down, what's left, what's right. So in a sense, yeah, I want them to abide by some standard of morality and principle, but I don't want them to abide by red flag laws, for example. Oh, we got a call. They saw Brian in Walmart. He was brandishing his weapon. No, he wasn't, but they're going to think that he was. And I followed him home, and now I'm calling secretly outside to tell you that Brian is a danger to himself and to the rest of the community. And then the law enforcement agent gets that call, and then they get the SWAT team, and then they invade your house in violation of your Fourth Amendment rights, and then they search the house in violation of the Fourth Amendment rights, and they steal your guns in violation of your Second Amendment rights. And now you get to go to a holding tank, like if you live in Florida, for 72 hours, and they get to determine if you're mentally fit or not because some anonymous caller decided, hey, I'm going to go ahead and wreck this guy's life because I don't like his politics or I don't like his stand on law enforcement. That's how easy it is. So under red flag laws, they can go in and break your door and feel justified in doing so. That's how nightmarish our legal system has become. And people are on board with it. People like this cop right here. And they're so tone deaf that they think producing a video like this is going to make them look good. And all you got to do is look under his video and realize, wow, you're getting freaking ratio, dude. Oh, you disabled your comments? Well, that's super honest of you to do, Mr. Officer.
Out for him, or has any, is a convicted felon and can't have any weapons on their person, right? That is another aspect right there, because while doing your detention, if you say conduct what's called a Terry frisk or a pat down, where you're not doing a full search, you're just checking for weapons, and you find out that this person is in fact carrying a weapon, and is in fact a felon or has a restriction on what they're allowed to possess.
What does that even mean, a felon? If you're a danger to society, why the hell they even let you out of prison? Why they let you out of prison? If they let you out of prison, if they think that you have been rehabilitated enough in prison to let you out among society, then shouldn't you have all your rights restored? And if you can't have, if you're not trusted to have all your rights restored and have a weapon, then why are they letting you out of prison? That's never made any sense to me, because whether they put a restriction or an ankle monitor on you or not, anybody can get a weapon at any time from virtually any place. From what I hear, there's 300 to 400 million firearms in the United States. That's enough for over one weapon for every man, woman, and child in this entire country. There's like 330, 340 million of us. 300 to 400 million weapons in the United States. You think that somebody who really wants a gun can't get it? Well, if he can, then why are you letting him out? And if you let him out, why are you still considering him a felon? And if you don't consider him a felon anymore because he's let out of prison, then why can't he have a gun? And why are you enforcing it, Mr. Officer? Oh, he's a felon. Did he do his time? Yeah. Why is he still a felon? This doesn't make any sense.
Possess. You now have grounds to arrest that person right there based on that charge.
Oh, God.
Not even the theft, right? You would just articulate in your report that you stopped this individual while investigating this incident, and while doing so, you properly identified the individual and you found that they possessed a prohibited item. Perfect. That's another reason. The third reason that I would probably hit on is to ensure that when you're actually checking this individual and you're running them, does this individual have a criminal history, right? Because that can help you build your reasonable, or excuse me, not your reasonable articulable suspicion, but your probable cause.
Think about the irony of what he just said. Do you have a criminal history? The guy with the long criminal history, I have never personally held anybody against their will. Have you? Have you ever held anybody against their will? He has. This guy, let's put him up on the screen. He's held people against their will. Have you ever stopped somebody for some arbitrary reason because it was written in a book somewhere? I haven't. Have you? If you're holding somebody against your will, if you're doing something without somebody's consent, and the sex category, that's called grape. In the life category, it's called murder. In the fraud category, where you're actually making threats and you're going to harm them if they don't do something that you want them to do, it's called extortion. This guy has committed major crimes in the name of law enforcement. So the guy who's the biggest criminal on the scene is going to determine whether or not you are a criminal and whether or not you can be free or not. Unbelievable.
Can help you build your probable cause. This individual has a criminal history of past theft, right? That combined with the individual has a tendency to, fight police, because that will typically be in there if it's documented. And then you're going to know you should always have officer safety in mind and always be situationally aware. But you're going to be
He said it again. He says it 3 times. He's going to say it again in less, a little over 60 seconds. Officer safety. What, man? I have got a list. Where is? Oh, it's on my clipboard. I'm carrying a clipboard around now. Thank you, James Freeman. I think it's a great idea. It's the psychology of the clipboard. I need to get me some gloves. But what I want to get is I want to get those mechanics gloves that look super imposing. The ones that got those plastic, hard plasticky things on them. I want to get a pair of gloves, and I want to get that clipboard. So I have on my clipboard some questions that I'm going to ask cops next time I see them. I hardly ever see cops in my town, guys. I'm constantly looking for them. And when I do end up seeing them, I'm on the freeway somewhere going 80, and I got an appointment to go to. So I don't have the time I'm always looking for them. I can never find them, but I have this series of questions. Hey, let me ask you something. I heard through the grapevine that there are only a few bad apples. Is that your experience? Are there only a few bad apples in your profession? Or is it the majority of you are bad? Like, are you a good cop or a bad cop? Oh, no, he's going to say he's a good cop. Well, are you aware of any bad cops? And if he says yes, have you exposed those bad cops? For public safety, because if they're bad cops, you don't want them out in the street, right? And what is the number one goal? Because I heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, I heard the number one goal for law enforcement was to make it home safe at the end of the night. What is that your number one goal? How important, on a scale of 1 to 100, how important is officer safety versus, say, public safety? Which one ranks higher, public safety or officer safety? And if he says public safety, he is freaking lying. That leads us to the next question. Have you ever lied on a report, or do you know anybody who has? Guys, every officer has lied on a report. They have not written absolutely accurately everything that they've ever put in a report. They lie in reports. Do you remember, what was the name of that guy? Is it Izzo? He was talking to this other cop, and they both admitted to lying on reports, and the lies would come hotter and heavier if the person who they were writing up didn't cooperate or gave them any kind of lip or any kind of pushback. It would escalate their lie writing on their report. So there's this series of questions. I got a whole bunch of questions written down. I can't remember. Let's see. I've got this. I wrote this down the other day. I've never seen a cop earn respect. Have you? What does it look like when a cop is earning respect? What does it look like? Because I've never seen it. I've never seen it before. They're always demanding respect, but they can never quite get to the point where they earn it.
You're going to know to be a little bit more on your toes when dealing with an individual that's known to fight police officers, right? And that's the type of information that you will find when you run someone through a identity check, right? You run it through NCIC or a state database. You wind up being able to acquire this information that is listed in there from past contacts or from input from other criminal engagements with this individual, anything. So you'll get that. Now, when you run someone and it says they're clear, all right, that's the best news a law enforcement officer can hear. I stop someone, for either a moving violation, or maybe I'm investigating that theft incident, and I run them and say, hey, individual's clear. Great. Now I have a reasonable expectation or a reasonable understanding that this individual isn't a career criminal. And that can allow me to engage with this individual in a little bit of, I won't say a different manner.
Here it comes.
Always be professional, no matter who you're discussing, and you should always have situational awareness and officer safety in mind.
You should always have situational awareness and officer safety in mind. But wait till you get to, we're going to get to this hypocritical part here in a second, because he's going to unsay everything that he's just said based on a description that the 911 operator gives him. So he's going to unwittingly venture into the concept of showing discretion or not showing discretion with regard to a description, a third-party description given to him by a 911 operator who he says makes a lot of mistakes.
But now I can engage with this individual and I can say, hey, based on what you're telling me, I had this incident go on. Would you be okay or willing to stand by while I have someone come out here? Typically, that's called a show up. What we wouldn't do is let that person see the witness, or I could walk that person back down. Hey, are you willing to walk with me this direction for a little bit while we talk? And I can walk that person back down.
I just upped it to 1.25 because I'm getting so sick of this guy. But I want you to hear this one part.
Right off
Hang
the
with
bat,
me.
based on running them, that there's not any outstanding aspect that I have to arrest this individual for, or there's not any outstanding aspect that I have to be extremely cautious about this individual causing me harm because they're known to cause harm to police officers or anyone else.
Anyone else came secondary to police. If they're known to harm police officers or anyone else, because we're really concerned about the other people too.
These are the things that they're looking for, which is why law enforcement officers always want a subject's ID, right?
There you go. There you go. This wasn't it, but there you go. Always want a subject's ID. When you're talking about human beings and one human being calls another human being a subject, they have unwittingly and psychologically articulated that they believe in their heart of hearts that they are above you. You are subject to them, at least during this stop right here. They believe they are in control. They believe that they are your authorities, and they believe that you need to obey them. And if you don't, they have the right, the divine right of kings, maybe, to put their hands on you. That's how sick these people are. And that leads us to the next description of psychopath. Look at this. Lack of remorse or guilt. And let's go over manipulation and deception. Psychopaths often lie or charm others to achieve their goals, using people as tools without regard for their feelings. You freaking subject. They may feign emotions to gain trust or control. Lack of remorse or guilt. They may harm others. That's like that's their MO. Emotionally, physically, or financially, and show no regret or concern for the consequences of their actions. And there's a major reason that they don't show regard or concern, because they actually believe, because it's written down on a piece of paper, that there's a policy, there's a code, there's an ordinance that was written by psychopathic political puppets. We got to follow this. And this gives me justification, just like it gave the Nazi SS the justification to pull people from their homes and throw them onto boxcars. They can justify it because, hey, I'm just ... And then everything else, they can pacify, they can obfuscate, they can justify. Hey, I'm just following orders. I'm just doing my job. No, you're just committing crimes. You're just ruining lives. You're just separating families. You just destroyed that family for a freaking citation. But in their mind, I was just making the world a safer place. That's how sick they are, man. Impulsivity and risk-taking. Psychopaths often act without planning, engaging in reckless behaviors like substance abuse, dangerous driving. Oh, you mean like pit maneuvers? Like doing a precision immobilization technique on a pregnant woman who's got her flashers on and is clearly slowing down and not trying to flee from you, Arkansas trooper. What was that trooper's name? Dang, I need to commit that guy's name to memory. It was like an appropriate name. What was that guy's name? What was the Arkansas state trooper's name who pit maneuvered that pregnant woman and her car rolled over? It's because he said she was speeding and she wasn't slowing down. There were concrete barriers on both sides. She was looking for a safe, well-lit place. Anybody remember that trooper's name? If you guys come up with it, I will say it, because we need to say them as often as possible. Don't let these guys... No, it wasn't Roscoe. Superficial charm. They can be charismatic and engaging, using their charm to manipulate or exploit others while hiding their true intentions. That's why you never, ever want to talk to a cop if you don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're saying. Don't answer their questions. All right, now I got it. Now it's bugging me. Arkansas trooper. Now it's bugging me. Arkansas trooper. Yeah, pit maneuver pregnant woman. What was his name? It was like a ironic name. What was it? Come on, give me his name. Client Janice Nicole Harper. Dunn. Yeah, he done messed up. Patrolman Dunn. And guess what? He's still a patrolman. That's how little the Arkansas State Police and the Troopers Association cares about you and pregnant women specifically.
Now, when we get into the situation of where a officer goes up and demands ID from someone, and let's say we go up, let's have the same situation. Someone's wearing a black jacket, blue jeans, and white sneakers, and so let's say it's a white male, mid-30s white male, black jacket, blue jeans, white sneakers, in the that stole from a store's tip jar and ran out and went in that direction. And
so we got a description.
Come up on someone with black pants, a blue jacket, and white sneakers. Dispatch gets it wrong a lot. All right, it's not their fault. They're only relaying the information that they get.
Listen.
This is common. You'll learn this if you know this if you are a law enforcement officer. You'll learn this if you go through the academy.
This is crazy.
And as you advance in your career. But let's say I see that individual walking, right? I see an individual matching that description or semi-matching that description. It's possibly a mid-30s white male wearing a blue jacket, black pants, and white sneakers. Now, this is opposite of what I was told. Is it possible that individual is the suspect I'm looking for? Yes, it is. Am I allowed to go up and talk to that individual? Yes, I am. That's called a consensual contact, right? I go up, I talk to that individual, and I say, hey, Officer Magaha, ABC Police Department, can I talk to you for a little bit? That individual right now, do I have reasonable articulable suspicion to detain that individual? Absolutely not. Now, if that individual, as soon as I said that, took off running, then yes, then at that point in time, I could detain that individual because of the suspicion of the activity of fleeing from law enforcement. But does that individual have to talk? Absolutely not. They can keep walking. They can tell me to kick rocks. They can use profanity at me. They can say whatever. I can't do a single thing about it, right? That's all covered under freedom of speech and Fourth Amendment, so that they have a right to be free from search and seizures.
Here's how he unwittingly constructed his own gallows, put the rope around his own neck, and jumped from the 2-story gallows. Remember what he said before? He has the right to detain you and request your ID, and you have to give it to him if a store owner eyewitness described what you were wearing and said you stole money out of the tip jar. He has the right to detain you, and you have the obligation to give him your ID. But if a 911 operator tells him that a person was wearing this and he sees somebody else wearing something different, and then he says the 911 operators get it wrong a lot. He basically is saying, okay, that's not what the 911 caller gave me, but she could be wrong. And he nabs and he identifies somebody who's wearing something different than what the 911 operator who could be wrong was wearing. Does he have the right to stop that guy? He can talk to him, but he can't demand his ID. And this is where officer discretion comes in, because the guy could literally exercise his discretion and stop him and demand ID, and that guy is obligated to give it, or he can stop it. And in this case, he's deciding, no, he doesn't have to give it. This is the perversion of law enforcement, is this discretion idea. Hey, is it a law or not? Was there a victim or wasn't there? Is it really a crime or isn't it? Can we rely on eyewitness testimony or can we not? Was the 911 operator right or wasn't she? Was your interpretation of what the 911 operator said right or not? Was it blue pants or black pants? Was it white shirt or blue shirt? He's basically saying there's all these varying degrees of what could be right and what could be wrong. And in this case, I'll stop you and you got to give your ID. In this case, if I stop you, you don't have to give your ID. That is so messed up. That means you have no, in these guys' minds, you have no rights. If they decide to exercise their discretion on the negative side, You got no rights in their eyes. And really, you don't have rights in their eyes. As long as there's traffic code and they think that they're okay just following this traffic code and ruining your life, you don't have rights. You don't have them. It's an illusion of rights. But they want you to think you have that illusion because they want you to think at times that they're the good guys and hey, I'm cutting you off easy. I just interrupted your life and I got a dog going around your vehicle, but you gave me some attitude. I'm going to let you off easy. Wait, you just harassed me for the last 30 minutes? You literally terrorized me, had me in tight cuffs in the back of my car. You're letting me out and you're doing me a favor, you freaking psychopath. Could you imagine roughing somebody up or punching them in the nose and go, hey, I'm going to let you off easy. I'm not going to break your legs today. Oh, thanks. With your nose dripping as you walk away. That's how horrible these people are. And I don't know, maybe they're so far gone that they don't see it, but I feel like on the other side of it, they're so far gone and they enjoy the paycheck and they enjoy the law enforcement culture and the thin blue line camaraderie and the fraternal order of police and all the trappings of whatever that involves. Because I've seen some real perversion in police departments, local, state, federal, and you have too. And they can't even hide it while they're wearing body cams to the point where they'll slam somebody to the ground for no reason and write up the report saying they slammed him to the ground for no reason. And they're just going to get away with it because they know they can hide behind qualified immunity. I just think they're so far gone. They're so psychologically and mentally and maybe even spiritually, I don't know, detached and cold and non-empathetic and psychopathic and sociopathic. They just don't care. They just don't care. And then they put on this face like they're the good guy. We want you to mourn for us. Look, our police dog that we treat like a human being who was stabbed in the heart by an innocent guy that we sicked our dog on. They consider that dog's life of more value than the guy who now has to get a couple digits amputated because the dog just tore him up so bad for no freaking reason because he ran from him.
So I go up and I talk to that person, and
that's pretty much. I don't even want to finish. This is the name of this guy's channel is Armageddon Training. Armageddon Training. He's got like a gazillion videos here. How many videos does he have? 716 videos. But that's a cop who thinks he's a good cop and cannot hide the fact that he is as bad as we've been saying they are. Now, I saw that BP Cast did this video right here. Oh, by the way, if you're just coming in, there's this channel called Bodycam Declassified. This is one of their last videos where it says black female lawyer versus arrogant cop. This is all drama. These aren't real cops. These are all actors pretending this is really body camera footage. You got to be aware of it. Don't use any of their content because if you use even 10 seconds of it, they'll issue a community guideline strike and you'll be in trouble with YouTube. Please spread that message. Here, I'm going to put let me put the link so you guys can be aware of it. It's called Bodycam Declassified. I can't remember what the parent YouTube channel is, but it's got like 1 point something million views, subscribers. But I am going to do this video. BP Cast has some really good content coming and I don't know if he's new to the show or if he's got, how long has he had his channel? Let's see. Oh, since 2017, but he's got 111,000 subscribers and he's doing a really good job exposing all this. But I saw this video with Rodney. I think his name is his name Rodney, who the cop met this female cop right here messes with and causes him to miss his daughter's graduation by accusing him of driving under the influence of something. And I may do a video on that. I'll try to make it short and sweet, but man, that one really got me because what really got me was this guy sobbing in the back of the, here, let me just show you. Here, let me just show you. He's sobbing because he made a promise to his daughter that he'd be at her graduation. And let's see if I can. Let's see. It really got me, man. Just like it got me yesterday when they took that man's baby away from him, which, by the way, I heard that he got his baby back. Let me see. I'm going to try to find it. This is the cop right here, though. I mean, just sick in the head, man. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Oh, this will tear you up. This is and here's, people can make fun of them all they want, but and I don't see this in me doing this, but people get so frustrated and they feel like there's no way out, and there's this total control of the thin blue line, and if you fight back, they'll put a round in you, man, or 2 or 5 or 10. They'll empty the mag inside of you if you just resist. And so there's all this pent up emotion. It's like, I made a promise to my daughter. I work hard. I got my my life on the right track, and I can't catch a break because these psychopaths in uniforms are messing with and ruining my life. I don't get a do-over on my daughter's graduation. People miss their weddings. People miss funerals because of these people. And to watch this guy sobbing in the backseat as he's held captive and being kidnapped by this female badged clown psychopath makes me sick and angry and sad. And maybe I'm letting my emotions get a hold of me, and I shouldn't. I should exercise more self-control, but I'm just being forthright and frank with you.
Oh Lord, Father, just help me right before God, please.
Oh, by the way, he already blew triple zeros. When they give him the test, it came back. He confessed to her that he takes Adderall and the dosage, and he answered all of her questions. And then he did it past the field sobriety test, but she said he didn't because they're designed to make you fail, and it's all subjective. And it makes you just, it makes you want to go Hulk. Not some people, man. It makes you want to fantasize about being Superman and absolutely indestructible. And just, I'm not even going to say anymore because I think it would be taken the wrong way. But just, what if you could be Superman, where nothing at all could possibly, they couldn't lift you. They couldn't shoot any bullets in you. You're completely impervious. They would never, ever mess with or pull any of us over. But because they know they can take advantage of you, and they can employ all of the resources and firepower of the state to bring you down. If you give them lip or flip them off or give them resistance in any way, that's what makes it sick. And they're supposed to be these entrusted members of the public who are there to keep us safe from crimes. And they're the ones committing more. If that's protecting me from crime, I'll just deal with the gangsters and thugs. Thanks. At least I know when I shoot at the Crips and Bloods, that the entire, a big section of my society is not going to think that I did wrong and then give them a hero's funeral. At least everybody knows the Crips and Bloods and the mafia are bad people. There's a lot of people out here who think that cops can do no wrong. That's the danger. It's not even so much the cops. Yes, it is them. They are psychopathic criminals who chose a life of crime called police, law enforcement, whatever you want. But the dangerous thing is all the brain dead, manipulated, propagandized masses who applaud police criminality and call that heroism. That's our problem. The people actually pull a lever and push a button so somebody can rule you and take your stuff. I want Donald Trump. I want Kamala Harris. I just want to be free. Just leave me alone. Look, if you guys want to do that, just leave me out of it. No, we got to mess with you. We got to take your money, and we got to force you into this association. Social contract. I never signed a social contract. Did you? I'm not a part of this criminality. Just leave me alone. And then when you push people against the wall and people react appropriately, Then they're like, well, you're showing aggression. I guess I'm going to have to put the cuffs on you. Oh, and that's another thing about psychopathy. Let me just finish the list here because you're going to laugh. You're going to laugh or cry. I don't know. Victim blaming is part of it. Yeah, look at this. Number 10, blaming others. They rarely accept responsibility for their acts. I was just doing my job. I was just following orders. I didn't write the laws. I just enforce them. Often deflecting blame onto others for external circumstances. How many times have we heard, you're only in the back seat of my car because of you? You're the one who decided to put the cuffs on you. You're the reason you're sitting on the curb right there. You're the reason you're going to jail. Well, no, I'm not the reason. You are. You freaking psychopathic victim blamer. Superficial charm, emotional shallowness. They struggle to form genuine emotional connections. That's why 40%, according to statistics, 40% of law enforcement are domestic abusers. And the regular general public, I think it's like 17%. The low teens, I think. Often mimicking emotions like love or sadness to blend in or achieve an objective. Irresponsibility. They may repeatedly fail to honor commitments. Oh, you mean like the Bill of Rights? Such as neglecting work, abandoning relationships, or ignoring financial obligations. Aggression and hostility. Oh, you mean that's a marker of a psychopath? Huh? I've never seen a cop show aggression and hostility. While not all psychopaths are violent, some display irritability, verbal abuse, or physical aggression when frustrated or challenged. What does that remind you of? Exploitation of others. They may take advantage of people's vulnerabilities. You mean like being non-law enforcement? You bet they do. Such as borrowing money without repaying or emotionally manipulating partners or colleagues. Lack of long-term goals. Many psychopaths focus on short-term gains, showing little interest in sustained effort or planning for the future. That's why I think when you dangle money in front of somebody and go, hey, if you commit this criminality, we're going to reward you. If you meet this quota, we're at the end of the month. We need a quota because we got to buy that Bearcat. We're meeting this quota because we got to refresh our supply of tasers and we need to get more magazines for, public safety and all that. When you dangle that carrot of monetary reward onto somebody and attach it to criminality, like, hey, let's pull them over and harass them. Let's increase our citation load. Remember Brookside, Alabama? The population of Brookside is less than 13. I thought I lived in a small town. Brookside, Alabama, 1,300 people, and they generated a windfall, 600% increase in tickets for people who drive through there. It was like $650,000. It was a crazy amount in Brookside, Alabama. And that's just one small town taking advantage of and fleecing the people they claim to be protecting and serving. So, oh man, we're at 144. I was trying to keep this under an hour and 30. I appreciate you guys. If you haven't done so already, hit that like button. If you want, subscribe to the channel. The best way you can help this channel out, it's free. Just like this video and share this video with everybody you know. I don't care if you use my stuff. Just, if you would, just don't take me out of context. Use my stuff wherever. Post it wherever you want. You never need my permission. We got to create and carve out freedom here. We've got to get people sensitized to the fact of, hey, I don't care what uniform you wear. I don't care what title you go by. I don't care if you want me to call you your honor or yes, sir, no, sir. You do not have the right to victimize anybody in the name of anything as long as that person's not harming, threatening to harm, or damaging or stealing property. If they're not creating a victim, leave them the frick alone. McCallion says, here's the deal, Brian. Anarchy is the only morality. It truly is. It truly is. And I know it's a scary word. Anarchy just simply means no rulers. That's it. It doesn't mean, hey, we don't have rules in our society. There's no moral code that we go by. It just means I don't want to be ruled by you. You don't want to be ruled by me. I don't have a higher claim over your life and property than you, and vice versa. And don't take I want to keep 100% of everything that I earn, because that's for me and my family. And did when government steals from you, you have less resources to be charitable to others. That's one of the reasons I think that it's this demoralization campaign from the US government and state and local governments, because the more money they take from you, the less you have to give to that poor person that always stands on your street corner. We got a guy in town that's been standing, God, for as long as at least for the past 7 years. This poor guy will stand out there, rain, shine, darkness of night, a bitter cold, and he's just standing. There's something mentally wrong with him, and he's just standing there, day, night, hours and hours, just standing there. And people help him all the time, but less and less people help people like that because they're getting economically terrorized. That's the thing I hate about it's basically a power and wealth transfer. When they pull you over and issue that citation, they're taking money out of your pocket, and you haven't harmed it. You haven't put anybody in jeopardy. Let's say you're doing 15 miles an hour over the speed limit. Cops around here do that all the time without their lights and sirens on. It's a requirement of law enforcement that if you're going to break the speed limit, you can only do it in an emergency situation, and you have to have your lights and sirens on. They're blowing by me all the time. Can't even catch up to them. Wouldn't even feel right to do it. But you go 7, 10, 11, 13 miles an hour over the speed limit. Oh my God, $250, boom. Then they run you through that court system. I'll tell you what, we'll cut you a deal. Well, it's 150. I'll charge you 150 today. We got a cut rate deal today. And it's just a racket. It's a money-making, revenue-generating racket. That's what law enforcement is. They're not here for you. They want the new MRAP. They want the new gadget. They want the new drones. They want to be able to spy on you and tap your phone and check out your Facebook and find out if you're a threat to public safety, which is really officer safety. It's just so much nonsense to keep up with. Thank you, Hexproof. I appreciate that. Appreciate you being a member. So I appreciate all you guys out here. Thanks for contributing in the chat. And let's make our world a better place. The price of freedom is now and will always be eternal vigilance. And indifference to this notion is the means by which the people have and will secure their own oppression. Let's stop securing our own oppression, and let's start today. I'll see you in the next live stream.